So it's interesting that I taken a break from writing some stuff, because it's like you really have to know from what direction you're coming from. I mean, you do all your research, you post all your videos or whatever, you Google everything that you could think of, you can rationalize, justify, and I don't know, cogitate on almost everything that comes through your mind and find ways to spin the stories and justify why this could be the correct thing, or that could be the correct thing, or that could be the correct thing. And it's actually, this is way out of even my realm of what I ever thought that I would end up finally coming to terms with. Is, you know, this a really good question from someone when they asked, they saw that I posted about what if the giants were our creators as current humans today. And then she asked a very valid question. Well, then who created the giants? Well, here's the thing. I'm adopted. I don't know who my parents are. I was raised in a Jewish household that came from the East Coast and lived in the West Coast and raised in Silicon Valley and whatever. And I have no interest in finding my original parents from Vietnam, assuming that story is completely correct, which I'm sure, yes, aspects of it is. How much of it's correct? I'm sure maybe all of it on some level. Who knows? I don't know. I wasn't there. But does it even matter? Does it even matter where I originally came from? Does it even matter who my parents are? Does it even matter even my culture? Does anything really of what happened before I even remember what happened really matter? What matters is I finally have a consciousness of who I am. We can go through our whole lives. Now I'm saying generally, people can go through their whole lives and be completely programmed and not know who they are. They've been given an identity from their parents, from their friends or family, their professors, their bosses, all of their peers, and they will live in that identity, but they will never know who they truly are because they were programmed to be a certain way. And because they were looking at somebody in the past. I mean, I see it all over the place. Politics. We have Biden, who has been in the past in Congress as a senator. He was a vice president, and he's our president today. And Trump was running for him. He has been part of the past. He's been part of all the different things. And so then he becomes a candidate. And so not only we're worshiping people of the past in politics, but also in religions, whether it's Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Jehovah, Adam Wright, or whoever from the Mormonism, all these people, and even our parents, people worship their parents. Some cultures are honoring their parents. Okay, I understand the culture. I understand that you want to give some acknowledgement to someone that gave you life, that gave you meaning, they gave you, education, they gave you some kind of path and purpose to work from. But at what point does a person finally be able to develop their own path that isn't based upon some icon of the past, that isn't based upon some religion of the past, that isn't based upon a parental, bestowment? And that's the thing that really is quite the conundrum, is because people are so used to referencing such large aspects of themselves based upon a majority of the past. And they haven't really fully figured out how to develop not only the present, but even the future. And so this is where the JJ meta mentality is like saying, okay, I mean, this is not just like, oh yeah, forget your past, forget this and forget that, and it's all about now. I mean, that's very cliche and very it's been done before in different self-help groups, okay? And I've been part of the self-help groups where they're like, oh yeah, you're a blank slate now, you can go create anything. It's even more than that. It's realizing that it's not just creating a blank slate so you can become a real estate agent because you were homeless before and now you finally got a job and now you finally have an apartment and now you finally got your your real estate license degree, and now you can go and go sell houses. It's not about just getting a job. This is even a bigger than just trying to go from being homeless to now, working on Wall Street. This is so much bigger than that, because then what happens is then we still keep doing the same things over again. I mean, that's the thing about dying and reproducing, as far as the macro level. So when you have 10,000 little stories of people's lives and all of their perceptions and all their tunnel vision based upon various different things, then yeah, that's the Tower of Babel. It's 7.9 billion stories that you have to go and wade through. That's 7.9 billion stories that you have to figure out and differentiate and find the pattern. Okay, what happens if we had just one long story of humanity that didn't have all the conflicting perspectives? But then people are like, well, then where's the diversity? Where's all the beauty of figuring some stuff out and solving this problem and that problem? Well, I mean, I think that we can have still the motivation and the incentive to make the world better without having to sacrifice a person, place, or thing. That we can have pets without having to go through 5 or 6 pets in one lifetime. That one person's lifetime could have maybe 5 or 6 pets. Because you think the average lifespan of a pet, because a person wants to buy a little dog or a big dog, is between 10 and 13 years if they're lucky. Okay? And so they have a few pets in their lifetime. I mean, yeah, they're fun, but then you got to watch these pets break down and the suffering as they're breaking down. Watch a human break down. Look at all the suffering as a human breaks down. Why should we allow beauty come from ugliness? But why is suffering ugly? Well, have you ever suffered in your life, people? Have you ever dealt with so much pain or dealt with so much stuff that you didn't know when it was going to end? And some people don't know when their pain's going to end, and they end up ending their life. And you think beauty should come from that? Does beauty have to come from extreme ugliness? Not necessarily. Beauty is it's as easy as going to your paint shop application and just creating a little painting. Putting some color into your life. It's learning a new concept. Does it have to be on the back of someone dying? Does it have to be on the back of some war? Does beauty and innovation have to be on the back of suffering? That's the thing where I'm coming from, that innovation, beauty, motivation, incentivizing people does not have to come from putting people at war with each other. Just like, in a sales office. The only way the district manager can get their people to perform is they pit one agent against the other. The only way for a mother to finally have some control over her kids is she fucking divides and conquers. When a friend is jealous of the other friends, and so what does she do? She talks smack about one friend and make them all feel like this person's stupid. Then in turn, does it to every single one of their friends. Talks smack about every single one of them. So she looks like she's the winner, and they're all like, oh God. I mean, why do people have to connect on the backs of fucking misery? Why do people have to make money on the backs of fucking suffering? And so does it really matter where the fuck you came from? Does it matter who created you? Does it even, I mean, and then you see, when I'm outside my little circle, my little sphere of influence of my world here, and I go out there and I go see the churches and I go see the hospitals and the synagogues and the mosques and all the different worship centers. And I'm like, these stories of how important it is to worship someone from the past, whether it's your parents or whether it's some other guru or cult leader or some icon, it's so pervasive that people go to war with each other, that they have to look like an image, and they have to go in and disfigure themselves so they can fit in with their friends. And you think that's beautiful? You think that is motivating? Oh, but it makes money. Well, there you go. Therein lies the problem. It's the greed. So that's the thing about why I'm doing what I'm doing, is like, it doesn't matter. When you think about the creators of whoever this simulation has created, this simulation, it doesn't even matter. It's completely irrelevant. We need to have obviously logical order so we don't have chaos. We need to have some kind of centralized platform to work from so we don't have people going off, flying off the handle doing stupid shit. But it doesn't need to come from the misery of other people. It doesn't. You can have beauty and peace without having the chaos. And I had to work that out because I'm thinking like, oh my God, for evolution to happen, does there have to be war? Not necessarily. Because, I'm not at war with myself, but I'm going on and exploring things. I'm going onto my apps and going like, I'm going to look at this paint app. Wow, this is pretty. I was playing with my paint app last night, learning the different paintbrush strokes and all the different colors. And then I'm thinking like, okay, what am I going to write? What am I going to do? And so when you think about, 7.9 billion people doing something like that, can you imagine how far the world can be taken as far as advancement? But maybe 7.9 billion people who, is too much because of all the resources that have to support 7.9 billion people. If they weren't, on the decline, would the world be different? Potentially. They'd be 7.9 billion people in their different pods. But you'd have to get them all edified to deal with salt, deal with pain, not take any antibiotics, stop taking out their organs, stop trying to commodify their friends and family, stop being so greedy, stop doing this, this, and this. And stop suffering because you know that if you have deficit, you're going to have to suffer through for a certain amount of time to get to a certain point so you can make yourself whole again. And how do you get 7.9 billion people all on the same page? So you can't. So then you release a virus and you have all the different therapeutics and the therapies and you allow people to leave this world in a dignified manner. But damn it, it sucks. But still, if I'm going to develop the new world right now as we speak, I would not be turning to religion. Politics would be something that would be a platform that would be life-giving and giving everybody a chance to get to a certain point. And I don't know how that's going to look like, but, and then the science would be, the food, salt, water, and dealing with the pain of getting yourself leveled up to the environment. And if you have a kid, well, there's going to be somebody that's going to help you deal with that kid growing up in a crazy world such as this and get him on the right path. And that's the thing about it, is that that's what I want to develop, is that kind of world. I'm going to write about it. This is my simulation that I think at some point we might get there. The Georgia Guidestones is really not set in stone. It is a mission statement of where we want to end up, but the journey to the Georgia Guidestones, it's going to be hell because the amount of people who need to be edified to the point of where they either are going to be cloned and they're going to be programmed for a very short amount of time and they will have less misery. Like they're saying, we're going to have no more cancer in the future, because at some point when they finally figure out how to have no cancer, then the backdoor triggers would be like, then you just have vital organ failure and you won't have the luxury of getting a cancer, disease, or chronic illness. It would just be vital organ failure. It'll just be, we'll turn you on for a certain amount of time and then we'll turn you off. And so when everybody is subject to be dependent on the therapies and all the drugs. So if you're born without hearing and now you are taking a drug to get your hearing back, that's how they'll control. So I can see now half the population is going to be born with deficits, taking drugs to give them their full capacity for a short amount of time. And then when the body wears down and everything, the cures wear off, there's nothing else, and they break down, then that's when most likely they will find a way to do so many of the cures that will be then cause more antibiotic resistance, which is more T cells and B cells are going to be circulating within. They're not going to want to do the J juice or any kind of salt water flushes or eat a bunch of food. And so their lifespan is going to be that short. And that's going to be the future. Half the population is going to actually freaking evolve and be a whole person. They're not dependent on the medical system. The other half of the world is going to be born with so many deficits that they'll be dependent on the therapies and the strings of drugs and have a shortened lifespan, or they'll have implants where the implants will tell the doctor and themselves, well, you have low blood sugar today and you have low this and low that. And then eventually even that's not going to work anymore. And then yeah, and then more of the T cells and B cells and more of the antibiotic resistance. And then, yeah, lifespans get cut short. You won't have the luxury to have cancer. You won't have the luxury to have disease or chronic illness. It'll be just turning you on and then turning you off for those that are in the medical system. I don't want it to be that way, because I'm going to tell you, when you think about the humans that have been brought on this earth with like progeria, like that Adelia, whatever her name is, and she had a kind soul. She was suffering from a major condition that is probably experimental. I'm speculating, but how, what the fuck? I mean, experimental or some major mutation in the population from the massive amount of B cells and T cells being spit out there by all the different people, and this one person had the perfect storm, and she aged that fucking quick. In 15 years, she aged that quick, like a dog. My dog is, my dog is like 11 years old, and so for every year, it's 7 years for an animal. So my dog is like 70, or I don't know. So she's 11, so she's 77 years old. My dog doesn't look 77 years old, but if you were to compare Adelia with her progeria, my dog should be dead by now. And so then you think these people have souls. These people have hopes and dreams, and they're suffering from being on these therapies. They're suffering from being experimented upon. They're suffering from just all the things that they really wish they could accomplish, and they can't because they are so behind the 8 ball, and they're at such biochemical deficits that then, they're in misery, and you can't help but feel so bad for them, because even if you try to help them, could they handle even more of the suffering of leveling up? And so you got to understand, those of you that are promoting the holistic and the allopathic and all the therapies, you're contributing to the torture of humanity when you are trying to keep people dependent on the prescription drugs and the therapies. Watching people on the decline is like, holy shit, you just can't even, it's so hard to watch. When people are fighting for all these medical treatments, knowing that what's going to happen when they do finally get to those medical treatments, it's going to accelerate what already is going on, and you can't do anything about it. And so that's why it doesn't matter where the fuck you came from. That's why it doesn't matter who your creator is. That's why it doesn't matter what happened whatever thousands years, 5 years ago. It doesn't even matter. The religions are all about keeping people so controlled. All the ascension, all the spiritual people, all the people that play with their hormones, all the different, CIA, MK Ultra, cult leaders from the 1960s that have repackaged the same stuff, with the off-gridding and the communes and all that shit, using the Rife machines and all the energy frequency bullshit. Oh my God, it's just, so it doesn't matter any of that stuff. That's all torture devices for humans. And I think humans deserve a lot more than what they're getting from their current environment. And just because your parents brought you into this world doesn't mean that you follow them in lockstep. Just because your parents gave you life, like I'm very happy my parents adopted me, and I've acknowledged it time and time again. I've also acknowledged that I did not take on the programming. I resisted the programming, and that's caused a lot of the issues between, our family, is that I did not want to take to the programming. I took it to a certain point, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I have to develop myself. And that didn't go over very well for anybody, actually. And so, just because your parents gave you life doesn't mean that they are your end-all, be-all. And even the parents with the kids, your kids are not your end-all, be-all. They're not your extension of yourself. They're not something that makes up for what you didn't do. And that's the thing with these families, is that they take each other down. The parents are like worshiping the kids, and the kids are worshiping the parents, and they're both cannibalizing each other, living in the fucking past, not developing any kind of fucking future because they don't have one. Because look what happened to the grandparents. They're on their way out. They're living with ghosts. Children are living with ghosts. Parents are living with ghosts. And it's pretty sad to watch, and that's the torture of humanity, is when you're living with the ghosts and the zombies. And so that's why I don't care about who our creator is. It doesn't even matter. Because as soon as you see a UFO, because of another simulation that resides basically simultaneously So right now we're in a simulation, and there could be other simulations out there that are far more advanced, but they're not any better than us. They just have more information that we haven't gotten yet. Once they get their information, I'm just as good as they are. And if they take away information from their world and they bear a kid who didn't know anything about what was going on in their simulation, they brought him over here, the kid would not know anything about the other simulation, so they'd be just as good as we are, and then vice versa. So you're just as good as the information you're willing to acquire or have access to. So when you see a UFO, don't think that that's your creator and that's the second coming of Christ, or that's the second coming of whatever. It's just somebody else who happened to keep information from you, that happened to have it, and now they're flying over you, and you're like, people are going to do. They're going to fucking worship a fucking UFO. You know that's going to happen. People do it all the time. They see something like Fatima. They see something like a mirage. And now you have the Catholics going over there and making that a pilgrimage. And I know I'm being blasphemous to some religions, but that's essentially what it is. Somebody says he sees, a statue crying because of oxidation. And so you have all this iron oxide coming out of the different orifices. And they're like, oh, that's Jesus crying. Oh, there's a million stories out there where you have people flocking to places thinking that that's like some kind of religious expedition. And then when you think about it, like if you understand physics and chemistry and biochemistry, and you're saying how you can change geological areas, you can change the weather, you can change formations, you can create floods, you can do so much stuff, just like the freaking Hunger Games, just like, the Truman Show, just like, all the different movies that they even show you in a simulation, Star Trek. And you're like, well, if it can happen in the movies, then yeah, you can recreate, have wardrobe changes, have geological changes, you can have geographical changes, you can even have the atmospheric changes and change the atmosphere. And so then there's nothing to worship. It's just simulations that keep repeating, keep going through the cycles, and the wardrobe changes, the wardrobe changes, the wardrobe changes. And like I watched just the sweetest thing yet again, another movie with Cameron Diaz and Christina Applegate. And it was such a simulation back in the 90s when it was all about everyone should be looking for love and going to the clubs and getting lost in, oh, I should get married and have sex. And you see that was such the program in the simulation back in the 90s. And I was living in San Francisco at the time. So I was going to the clubs, looking for love, looking for sex, looking for whatever, trying to find the right job and be in the right place at the right time, wear the cool clothes and all this other shit. And if I stayed in that persona, then I already see where I would have ended up. Either divorced and having a bunch of kids, or who knows, hell, I don't know. Married to the same person and getting lost down the rabbit holes of, oh, let's go to the ball game. Let's go to football. Yeah, let's go to the bar and go get drunk. Let's go do this. And here, let's go to the church and go to the synagogue and go to this. And we have all our traditional holidays. And oh, yeah, we're getting all together. And I've been with my friends for 15, 20 years, which means you haven't evolved. If you still have friends from high school, then you haven't evolved. You're still living in fucking high school. And that's what they wanted out there as far as in the movies and all the different, all the different towns, is they want you to have your old friends from high school. They want you to have all your associations from college, because then you guys would reinforce each other's programming and then take each other down at some point. Well, I can be proud to say I have nobody from high school that I am talking to actively. I even shed some of the people that I was with during the whole Jilly Juice stuff. And I'm not saying that I'm disloyal. No, it's called evolution. It's called adaptation. It's called you need to evolve. Because you could be living with ghosts. You could be working with ghosts and people reinforcing a programming that you're unaware that they're reinforcing because they're stuck in all their different stuff. And so, I'll see what's going on. We have many, many years of seeing how this Jilly Juice mentality is going to pan out. It's easy to get on board and say, yeah, Jilly Juice is great. Yeah, let's go make some money off of Jilly Juice. It's easy to do that now because it's so new. The real truth, I don't want to say fact, but the real truth is when we see people in this simulation, the next 20, 30 years. Even 10 years, yeah. But I'd say 20, 30 years where we're going to see really the people that have been on the JJ meta mentality, We're going to see where they are in the future as far as the timelines. And so I don't want to be next to anyone too close right now because it's too fucking soon. Hi, sugar. You okay? It's too soon. And so, bless you, sugar. And so you have plenty of time to start reconfiguring your life. So that way you can survive this. Because I'll tell you, this atmosphere is insane. My dog feels it. I feel it. My husband, he feels it. I mean, I have not felt this way since 2020 of February at all. Before the COVID, I have not felt this way ever. And even when I was off the J juice for whatever amount of time after, like in 2019, I wasn't doing that much J juice. I was relatively in a cured state. There was no major, pandemic going on. But right now there is a major pandemic, plus everyone's toxins. Everybody's, their immune system is so activated that all of their proteins that they have developed a defense against all the different antibiotics and remedies and supplements and detoxes is now circulating out there in the cesspool of the viral soup within crowds and in weather. And then I'm breathing that shit in. And people are also getting all their therapies as far as radiation, chemotherapy, other stuff that then is being added to the viral soup. And so I'm breathing in people's radioactive isotopes. I'm breathing in people's chemotherapy and cannabis. I'm breathing in people's walnut oil and coconut oil, topical or whatever. I'm breathing in people who are taking kratom and their methadone, and their body is building defense against it. Now it's being released into the atmosphere. I'm breathing that shit in, and my body's fighting it off left and right. So that's the thing is right now, people can stay cured for a relatively certain amount of time. Like we hear the story in the Bible that, oh, Moses, and no, it was 900 years old. But even that's unsubstantiated, okay? Even that's unsubstantiated. So how long can someone be cured with salt water and food, always salting out whenever they feel something? We don't know, but I can tell you, when you're in a dynamic environment such as this, and you have viruses that have been laced with people's DNA and all the different microbes from their environment, when that's circulating so much and it's attacking you on a constant basis, and then you're taking so much J juice because you don't want to feel the constant attacks, you're not going to survive because the substance is going to come off you. You're not going to be hungry. And then those little things are going to be eating you out from the inside, cannibalizing you. And you're going to weigh next to nothing and look next to nothing and have to go to plastic surgery and Botox. Hey, sugar, you going to go outside? Okay, so I got to take her outside. Come here, sugar, let's go outside. I'll take you with me. But that's what I'm saying. So the proof is going to be in the pudding. And that's going to be in the next, 10, 15, 20 years. Because we don't know how long someone can be on the J juice. Because we know people are playing that game where they're using J juice to get them through so they can go to work. Because you can imagine someone's out there at the bars going to work, and they're doing the J juice all the time. Yeah, they're eating food. They're like, oh, I'm eating a lot of food. I'm not starving myself. But they're doing J juice all the time. And so you're just like, okay, how long can they do that in this environment? Come on, sugar. Come here. Come on, sugar. Come on. Let's go. How long can they do that? Well, that's what we're going to find out. There's people that are on my J juice and on my Facebook that I know do that. And I'm going to see how long they're going to last. And so there's a lot of things that I'm watching with people who are still doing the J juice, knowing that you shouldn't be cured in this environment, that you have to feel and release, because you're taking on all these microbes that are going to work against you. And that's what people don't realize, is that every time they go out in a crowd, they're picking up someone's microbes that's going to attack them at the micro level. And you don't know what they're going to go and attack, because, again, when you're taking a liver detox and then someone develops a defense against it, and then they breathe that in from somebody else, now that liver detox defense protein is going to go and attack your liver. And who knows what? Or it'll, or you'll create, you'll create a defense against whatever's attacking the liver. And then that will then also coagulate in your body if you're not releasing. And so then you have a cure in your body that is defense against whatever protein that's attacking your liver, as well as it having the liver protein. And then you have something that's going to be attacking your liver at some point. That's when you get liver cancer and stuff. Because, yeah, when you're doing chemotherapy and all the different cures out there, all of that will eventually eat you up from the inside, because it's all of the T cells and the B cells. Your own immune system is going to attack you. That's what autoimmune disorders are. And so, hi. And so that's what I'm saying. So you know, when you're breathing in other people's defense systems, like, you're getting immunized with other people's defenses. And those immunizations, when you think about it, will work against you. And so you got to realize that you have to keep releasing, and also keep taking on. And so I'm going to see what happens with people. You know, Sugar, I know she wants to stay outside, but I'm going to go, because it's, I don't know, I'm going to go. But just realize that, that when, you know, whenever you are, I got to make sure I say this clearly. Whenever you are taking something for your liver to detox it, not only will your body build a defense system against it and stay in your system, but relative to your lifestyle, your defenses can also attack whatever it's supposed to protect. Okay, you can have too much protection where your protection can attack you. That's an autoimmune disorder. All right. And so when you have something that is cleansing your liver, and then your body builds a defense against it, then it can go either way. And so that's why you have to keep releasing, and you keep regenerating and releasing and regenerating. And then other people's microbes are then attacking not only your food supply, because it's used as an antibiotic against something else, but then you're also taking on their issues, their cancer, their disease, their chronic illness. Because I'm just thinking about, why is it that these cancers attack certain organs? And it's because of all the antibiotics that are targeting those organs. So why does antibiotics target the organs? Because it's antibiotic. It's antibiotic. Anti-life. Well, how would you go against that? How would you fight against that? Well, you have to feed it. You have to feed your liver. You have to feed your body so it can regenerate. And then you have to release those little microbes that are attacking you. And then you have to build up your own defenses against those microbes. Okay, but then and then when you have a defense system against those microbes that have then like a walnut protein that's like part of a liver detox, then you have to build up enough defenses against that. Then you're going to have a little bit of mucus when you eat a walnut until that mucus is gone, and you deal with it. And that's the thing. That's how you get rid of allergies, is you let the allergies flow, and you let it flow, and you let it flow until your body assimilates to the food again. Okay? So you can't overcome somebody else's defenses by assimilating again to the food supply and then building your own defenses against those antibiotics. And that's something that I have to remember how to say too, because that's a lot. All right, I'm gonna go, but oh jeez, but yeah. All right, bye.